Hello and welcome to the AI Summit London. My name is Max Smolaks, editor at AI Business, and I'm pleased to welcome David Green, consulting director for AI and IoT at Omdia. Welcome to the show, David.
Thank you, Max.
So, you've been around for 2 days, you've hosted some sessions, you've attended some sessions. What are some of the most interesting things you've heard about during these 2 days?
Good question. We've certainly had, across on the digital transformation stage, we've had a pretty wide variety of speakers from kind of CEO, you spoke to eToro yourself, for example, on that. And then some of the later sessions, the panels, NHS, for example, different vertical industries. And I think, of course, there are commonalities across all industries, but there are also differences. We know that there are differences. So, for example, with our Omdia data, we know that one of the interesting things we did, I showed earlier, was what was the first forecast update post-COVID compared to pre-COVID, for example. Mm-hmm. And actually there are a couple of industries, including healthcare predictably, which, believe it or not, actually increased the total spend over the next 5 years in that forecast. And even the ones that, of course, have seen a slight downturn, it's still not massive. And I think one of the things that came up a few times around the elephant in the room in COVID particularly was that it hasn't changed the fundamental trends. Actually, most of the time it seems to have accelerated them, and people have seen that ROI in a different way, and actually it's maybe helping push people forward. So I think that's been pretty interesting. Other than that, a lot about collaboration, partnerships, and actually there was a panel with kind of UK research and industry that we had earlier, where the phrase came up, "It takes more than one." And I really like that. It was applied in that case to saying it takes more than one researcher or one research group, but actually you can scale it up. You know, it takes more than one solution to solve AI. It takes more than one partnership. It takes more than one group or one role within a company, for example. So that's the "it takes more than one" is probably the phrase that I'll take away from today.
It's our new motto. Okay. and so in the past year we've talked a lot about the skills crisis in data science.
Yep.
So does that still present challenges, or have we more or less figured it out?
That's definitely not the latter, and I don't think, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. That's just market evolution. There are always going to be, skills go where some of the money is. That's some of the challenge, and also in something as cutting edge as AI, it's always going to be competitive to get those market leaders right into your business. We know that it's still a challenge. Again, one of the Omdia end user studies that we have asked, what are the top kind of roadblocks? What are the top things that slow down your adoption of AI within an enterprise? And the top answer for that, I think selected by 16% of the respondents, was lack of internal skills and knowledge. It was that human problem, essentially, within the business. The interesting things behind that were lack of budget, of course, and then actually on the technical side of things, the next answer I think was complexity of systems, legacy systems kind of integrating. But it was that, I always find it interesting, everything to me breaks down as that, is it technical, human, or financial, effectively? Those are the three categories. But it's actually the human side which comes out top in that study. So I definitely think that's still the case, and that's an ongoing challenge.
Okay. And you obviously represent Omdia, a big research firm, and just like what research firms do is they collect data. So could you share, some of the more interesting numbers about the state of AI market?
Absolutely, yeah. It's all about the numbers. So. Well, we started today, I asked people whether they were a pessimist or an optimist. Nothing like a personality test to wake people up on the morning on the stage. And I said that, there's different reasons that we think either pessimistic or optimistically. First of all, it's great to be back at a physical event. That's definitely a reason for optimism. In the AI industry as a whole, I actually asked the Omdia analysts, a bit of a kind of fun challenge. I said, give me some context to the number size for AI. I know it's many, many billions, right? But give me a context. What if AI was a country? What was its GDP be? Uh-huh. And they put that together in 2020. It would have been 45 billion spent worldwide, which makes it a top 100 economy, between Jordan and the Congo, if you look at the GDP list. By 2025, that actually grows by a factor of 4 to 200 billion, and it becomes a top 50 economy, somewhere between Portugal and Peru, I think, on the list. So again, that's a huge scale. It's starting from a large base, but also still rapidly increasing. So as a vendor, are you optimistic? Is that as much as you want? Are you getting your slice of that? But as an enterprise as well, particularly in an era where you can compete even on customer acquisition or customer retention using AI, right? Especially in the last 18 months, for example. Are you doing enough? Where are you on that curve? Are you actually getting enough spending in there to stay ahead of competition. So that was one. And then the final stat, which has probably intrigued me over the last week as I was looking in on some of the studies that we have an end user survey more focused on manufacturing and industrial. We said, what proportion of POCs actually make it to full deployment, to kind of full production? And the answer there, so far from the early data, is an average of 41%. Now, how do you feel about it? Is that a pessimistic or an optimistic kind of tone at 41%?
To me, that seems less than half, seems quite low, but I don't know much about POCs.
I believe it or not, and I'm not sure whether this makes me a pessimist or optimist, right? But it was higher than I expected. On one hand, it's great that it's higher than expected. There's a couple of reasons why maybe manufacturing industrial is typically a more cautious industry. Maybe it makes sense that they only go ahead even to POC stage once they feel that they know they're going to get something from it. Also, it's kind of funny that I'm optimistic about a number that says 60% fail, right? So again, it shows why they don't fail, and again, it's human, it's technical, and it's financial, and it's only when those align that the AI solutions actually kind of get adopted.
All right. Well, thank you very much for this insight, David.
Thank you.